Chapter 1. A trader by the name of Whalen had escaped. He had erased all physical and electronic evidence of himself in the hopes of not being found, and used the dead of night to enact his scheme. His motives were unclear. What was known was that he had siphoned a large amount of money and valuable secrets from August Mason Contracting International. The trader's actions marked him for death. Unit 9 had been chosen to kill the man. Whenever a mission involved a numbered unit, there was a handler sent out with them to make sure everything went smoothly. In an emergency, the handler served to bring the unit to heel if they got unruly. Unit 9 was among the best that August Mason Contracting International had to offer. Sean had sent Unit 9 to go ahead of him. 9's ability to cover vast amounts of ground was sure to come in handy here. That left Sean alone in the car, driving down a dark, forgotten stretch of highway. The night was an endless black abyss, save for the small stretch of road that his headlights allowed him to see. The woods on either side of the road seemed to go on forever. "I found him." 9's voice came through the earpiece. Sean privately was relieved. The matter was as good as settled. The mission was as good as done. But Sean knew that he couldn't get ahead of himself. "Where are they?" he asked. "A small wooden cabin, deep in the woods, about 10 miles from where you are now," 9 answered. "You'd never see it from the highway. The only road that leads to the building itself is a dirt road only wide enough for one car. Even if you got close, the entrance is nearly cloaked by trees. You would have to know exactly where you were going to get here." 10 miles, thought Sean. If the target left right now, then he would have to play catch-up. "Unit 9, I am authorizing you to go ahead with the mission. Lethal force is okay. Understand? Kill the target quickly and quietly. Bring back any documentation on this person back to headquarters." Those were the orders from his handler. The orders became the unwavering focus of Unit 9's mind. Unit 9 was silent as he flew through the night sky. The product of cutting-edge science and a lifetime of training, Unit 9 was a living weapon. He was smart, driven, relentless, and armed with a multitude of ways to kill. He had been developed in absolute secrecy. Unit 9 had gray skin, a featureless face, save for 2 glowing white eyes. His hair was long, straight, and silvery white, reaching just below his shoulders. He had a white martial arts gi. The sleeves were short, ending at his elbow. The end of the sleeves had a gray flame pattern going all the way around. A similar gray flame pattern went all the way around his torso. A black sash adorned his waist. His pant legs were gray with a white flame pattern going around just above the knee. His forearms and shins were wrapped by black wrapping. His most striking feature was his tail. It was long, 1.5 times the length of his body. It was a deep black with the end of the tail being sharp. He was able to fire bursts of electricity, emit shock waves from his body, the strongest of which could blow open the hull of a ship. He could fly, merge with shadows, instantly manifest weapons into his hands, and could slightly morph his hands and feet so that they became claws strong enough to pierce solid concrete. His eyes could adjust to see in darkness. Unit 9 circled above the office. He could see them, but they were oblivious to his presence. The 2 men posted at the front and the 2 at the back were armed with assault rifles and wore bulletproof vests. It seemed as though Whalen was taking no chances with his safety. Even though they weren't the main target, they could be a potential problem. The rounded tips of 9's fingers became sharp and hard enough to pierce steel. He dove. The ground rushed up at him. The wind rushed by as he dove. At the last moment, he extended his fingers. 9 descended on the man like a hawk, killing its prey. The impact of the attack dropped the man to the ground. 9 drove his sharpened nails into the man's neck. The man was dead before he knew what hit him. Before the second guard could so much as let out a surprised cry, 9 whipped his tail. The bladed edge sliced the man's throat. The man's eyes were held open in horror. He feebly reached for his throat as he fell first to his knees and then face down in the dirt. Blood pooled underneath the bodies. Now for the 2 in front. 9 silently made his way around the front of the building. He peeked around the corner and spotted the 2 guards in front, illuminated by the porch light. 9 fired a blast of electricity, catching one of the guards completely off guard. He was knocked off his feet and lay on the ground unconscious. "Holy shit!" exclaimed the other guard. The other guard turned his rifle towards where the blast had come from. He saw nothing but a sheet of blackness beyond the illuminated area. He kept his rifle ready, looking around, panicked. He saw nothing. The only sounds were the animals of the forest and his hurried breathing. The man went back to his friend and knelt beside the man to check on him. He pressed the call button on the walkie-talkie clipped to his shoulder. He couldn't have hoped to notice that 9 was emerging from the shadows behind him, a sword manifested in his hands. In a quick motion, he thrust the sword through the base of the man's neck before he could alert anyone to his presence. With the guards dead, the target had no hope of escape or rescue. To be sure, 9 used bursts of electricity to blow the wheels off the vehicles parked up front. There was only one thing left to do. By the drastically small chance that a person stumbled onto this cabin and opened the door, they would only have seen an ordinary, almost bare cabin. A bed, a refrigerator, and a table were the only things in the room. The room was lit by a single handheld lantern that sat on the table. On the right, in the corner furthest from the door, a section of the floor had been pulled up. A staircase led to the basement. 9 could hear movement coming from below. He descended the staircase as quietly as possible. The downstairs had several rows of shelves. All of them were stuffed with books and files. The shelves occupied half of the space in the basement, and the rows between the shelves were only wide enough for one person to go through at a time. The ceiling was low, giving a very compact feel to the space. From the looks of it, a good deal of care was taken in crafting the basement. Patterned carpeting and white ceiling tile. Wayland must have spent a great deal of time here. Unit 9 progressed through the basement, making his way to the source of the papers shuffling and boxes being shifted around. 9 came to the end of the rows of shelves and saw a large desk and computer. At that desk was Wayland. He was a brown-haired man. He had a wide mouth and weak chin surrounded by stubble. His back was turned as he worked frantically to stuff papers into boxes. "Wayland," 9 said. Wayland stopped and turned. "I thought I had more time. I know what this is. The company sent you to kill me. Unit 9, I know you have your orders, but please listen to me. I'm not the bad guy the company wants you to think I am. What I'm doing is in both our best interests." Unit 9 used his powers and manifested a gun into his hand. He aimed the gun and prepared to execute the traitor. Wayland took a deep breath. He knew his fate. "Please, I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'm trying to help you." Blam, 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 blam. 4 shots. In the center of the forehead, the throat, the heart, and the stomach. Wayland collapsed on the wall and then fell dead to the floor. His eyes did not close but became lifeless, and blood spilled out to cover his clothes and leave him in a pool of his blood. Wayland was dead. The mission was complete.